So, all right. I have to wait for that 1 second. Hi, how you doing? How's everyone?
It's great to see you all. I'm so thrilled to be here. Thank you.
Thank you
Because
for
even
joining.
after all these years, I always struggle with the maths of the time difference, between Australia and everywhere else.
Listen, I tell you the time, and I pray to God you figure it out because I don't.
Yeah, that's the way we have to do it.
I'll do Eastern and Central, and then after that, you're on your own. I'm like, I don't.
Sorry.
You are literally in tomorrow.
Hawaii is the worst for me. It's 20 hours difference. I mean, what's that?
Yeah, I send Lena, hey, do you want to join us? I don't. It starts at 7 my time. You're in tomorrow.
Yeah, that's the easiest.
It's a whole nother.
And people tell me all the time, "Oh, there's world clocks and world." I go, "Yeah, but you try and work it out."
Exactly.
I can't do it. I really can't. So hopefully everybody's good out there. Hopefully y'all had a good Thanksgiving if you celebrate that type of thing. Pat, thank you for joining me. She is in Canada, right?
I am.
Thanksgiving 2 months ago or something like that.
I'm in the whole of Canada.
So thank you for joining us. Thank
you for having me.
Not noticed, she is one of the moderators. So, and she has been here before when we did the Meet the Moderator stream on.
Oh, yes.
So we've seen you before, but welcome back again. Welcome back, Adrian. Welcome back, Lena. Thank you for joining me too.
Thank you for having us.
Announcements. Adrian, you go first. I got to think.
I was like,
okay, well, I do have tomorrow. Joyce and I are going to be on her channel at 3 p.m. That's what I was trying to remember. On her channel at 3 p.m. Eastern, work out your own times. And then that night, I will be with the Cut Up crew on Adrian's channel. and we will be doing our zodiacal reads for the month. We will be trying to anyway, in between all of our other conversations, our sidebars. So that's what I got going on. And a little bit of news about the tarot class that is January 7th is the first date. I'm still testing the Zoom, so when I figure out what it is, then I will make a whole video about how to sign up and all that type of stuff. But again, if you just want recorded videos, they're already on Patreon. So you can go there and sign up and watch to your heart's delight.
And doing Patreon is very good. He had a way of, even though I had been using tarot for, I felt like 18 years and still was confused at times. The classes, what I did on his Patreon that really kind of helped me get more confident was how to put the story together. So and you can watch that 1.5 million times until you pass out, which is what I did. And so I highly recommend his Patreon as well as his tarot class that's coming up. There, I did a plug. I should plug myself. Like he said, tomorrow, Cut Up Crew, December horoscopes tomorrow at 7 p.m. on my channel with Johnny and Tony. Next week, I've got I keep saying I'm gonna do another like live chakra reading, and then like I'll get in a really bad mood because of my day job, and then I'll get a headache. Because I'm like, I can't infect other people with my bad moods, so let me just sit behind at home and not do it. So I'm going to try to be in a better mood at some day after work next week and try to do the reading. So I will let you know what day I'm going to do it. Wednesday, I am doing a political personas live stream with Tarot's Apprentice is going to join us. I'm going to ask somebody, I'm going to ask Becca if she wants to join. I just haven't reached out to Becca yet. And we'll have Jinlin and Lori joining us. That'll be Thursday, December 9th at 7 p.m. Eastern. So not necessarily looking at political topics, but actually kind of like Petty Party meets Johnny, Jen, and Becca's Sunday show, where we just look at political people, but we look at like why they are the way they are. So yes, it will get petty, messy, and nasty, and hopefully hilarious.
Oh, so sounds fabulous.
Yeah.
Lena, you should join us too. Okay, anyway. I have no idea what time 7 Eastern. Oh, 7 Eastern is your time in Australia, but okay, I'm done. No more plugs. I'm done.
Lena, did you have anything coming up that you want to plug?
No, not really. I just plug away, and I'll be doing a video after this. But I'm just loving this idea of us as people having a conversation, you know. So I'm just happy to roll with this. Thank you, Johnny.
Thank you all. Pat, will you tell us, okay, can you tell us about the story you're still writing on, or no?
Oh, I am still working on it. I have one written that I'm still trying to find the publisher for. It's a hobby. Call it that. So that one's done, and the other one is I'm still working on it. But you know, I'm a Gemini, so Johnny, you know how this goes.
But also, Pat,
Yes, there
you've
has
got
been.
a lovely voice.
Oh, thank you.
You could read it as a podcast. Skip the publishing.
Yeah.
Thank you. The voice came with the package. I take no credit, but my responsibility is to share it. And I keep saying, for people who have anxiety, apparently it's a good prescription. So that's why I do the storytelling. I have a story. I have one that I had written some time ago for children called Now in a Jar. And that will be the next one that I'll be reading on my storytelling website, which, by the way, thank you, Johnny, who encouraged me to start it.
Absolutely. Now, mind you, to your credit, story time here. There is a situation with taxes, right? The Department of Revenue sent me an email. That's not a big deal. They sent me an email saying we need your, the W-2 and the 1099 and the ABC 123 and all. I was like, I don't know what none of those forms are. This is irritating, and so I called the LegalZoom people who I set the LLC up. The first person I get, I go through all the verification of information. And then he says, well, I'm sorry, I can't help you. Let me transfer you to Zabada. So I talked to Zabada, and then she was, you need a lawyer, I think. I'm like, no, I don't need a lawyer. I just need to know what a 1099 RC3 is.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can transfer you. Oh my God, why are you transferring me to anybody? And to remind you, I had to read all my information, verify it to her. And then the next person, I'm like, okay, this is the third person. Hey, can you verify your information? Why don't you know it already?
Yeah.
Okay, so go through all that. She said, you're talking too fast and I can't hear you. Like, okay. I just hung up the phone because now I was getting frustrated.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, because I can't take it out on you because maybe I'm talking too fast.
Yeah.
You can't hear me. So I can't go blowing up at the person on the phone. So I'm like, okay, thank you, Catherine. I literally turned like everything off, turned the phone off, the computers, everything had to go shut down because I was in that place. And I'm like, okay, turn everything back on, calm down at least a little bit. I'm still with the high anxiety. And so I called TurboTax. I'm like, they deal with taxes and forms. Now, mind you, I Googled it and read all this, what the 1099 RC, I read that, but I still don't compute because this is not my world. So I get the person on the phone that even kind of looks like you, Pat. And she sounds exactly like you. And she talked, the moment she started talking, it's like, whoosh.
Yeah.
I'm like,
the
okay.
voice. Yeah.
I mean, all of it, like somebody sucked the anxiety out of the room.
Oh, wonderful.
I'm like, okay, I can hear now. Not just I can hear and listen now. And so she's talking, and it's just comfort. And she said, yeah, you don't need this. Cross that off because you're a single member. Okay, cross that one. You don't need that one. Okay, cross this. You do need this form. I'm going to email it to you. Just fill it out, send it in.
Yeah. Blessings to this woman. Yeah. And if there's anything worse than that, it's being in another country dealing with the US.
Wow, yeah, wow.
First of all, you have to ring them at midnight or something.
Yeah, on your hour.
to get Josephine on the phone and oh look, and they don't accept electronic anything, hard copy. It takes a year and a half for a letter to get from here to there in COVID. You know, like what are they talking about?
Yes.
And I only want to pay the money. Well, not want to, but that's the goal. And they still can't talk sense, you know.
Wow.
It's and I told that lady, she said, you may get a survey about this stuff. I said, whatever you need to do, send me the survey. I said, if you need to go snatch it off somebody's desk and scan it in the computer, make sure you send me a survey, because I'm going to put all caps and exclamation points.
Yes, that's right.
So anyway, that was my story. So we'll dive right in. We'll jump around. We'll start with you, Pat. Okay.
Oh.
Do you believe in free will? If so, will you define what it means to you?
So the first part of it is the belief part, because I have a thing about believing that. So believing is about accepting that a certain idea is operative, right? And once you are committed to it, then you act as if it's real. So do I believe in free will? I guess the question is, does it exist or not? Whether I believe or not is dependent on how much I wish to participate in the idea of it. I hope that doesn't sound too complicated. So believe, I don't know. Does it exist? I believe I can say yes, that there is a certain degree of free will.
Adrian.
And to define it is choosing a certain line of action.
Okay, wait, I need notes.
Excellent. Now I don't have to define it. Thank you, Pat.
Okay. I'm gonna wait till the scribes.
Okay, Adrian.
I knew I was gonna go. After that prolific answer, I was like, God, I bet you I have to go after she just gave that answer, and I'm gonna sound like such a dumble doof. Yes, I believe there is free will. However, for me, it gets a little complicated. I would say, from a philosophical standpoint, I would almost label myself a self-determinist, because I believe that I believe in things like fate, destiny. There is no accident, whatever, karmic working for us, sacred contracts. But I also believe within that realm, you also have the choice, absolutely, to fulfill that or not. So my long answer is yes, and my short answer is kind of. Because God, I'm not going to define it. If you want to know what self-determinism is, go Google it, because I will never explain it as eloquently as the Googles will.
Lena, do you believe in free will? And if so, what does it mean to you?
Yeah, well, let me come back with a story in the sense of this, right? Because I think if you look at the free in free will, with freedom comes responsibility. And back when I was a very young thing, 19 or something, and I wanted to become a baby witch, I was fascinated by Wicca and things like that at the time. And I had a very good teacher. She was 7th generation Wicca. I was lucky to find her. Well, you know what I mean. Anyway, the first thing she said was, first do no harm. Now, that's also the oath that doctors take and stuff. It's very ancient as a concept.
Mm-hmm.
And if we stand by that, first do no harm, then I think you can activate your choices. Mm-hmm. You have this moral responsibility to know where that energy is going.
Me, no, I don't believe in it at all. I go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. I've done a reading on it and deleted the reading, because I'm like, this is one of those things that keeps circling in my mind. And it's like, yes, you have free will? And then I think, no, you don't. Because if I didn't get to choose from the beginning, then all of this is not my, this is not the road that maybe this person would have chosen. It's whatever my soul contract, whatever was put into place before I got here. I didn't get to choose that as this person, then that's not my will. You basically gave me a choice within boundaries. And so I don't find that free. I find that leashed somewhat. So I want to go back to something you said, though, Pat, about a certain line of action. Do you believe that you are in complete control of those lines of actions?
I believe that every point in a decision has a certain number of trajectories, and no matter which direction you step off in, it's predetermined. If you stay on the trajectory, the freedom of choice can be in stepping from one trajectory to another. I hope I'm not being too complicated.
Nope. Makes perfect sense.
So that's why I was saying that there's a freedom, but it is a lot narrower than we might imagine.
Okay. Go ahead.
I've been asking myself that same question, Pat, since like I will never forget freshman year of college, like 20 something plus years ago, when we were talking about the whole notion of free will. And it's like, okay, so if you're a hard determinist and you say that no, there is no free will and everything's, determined, then that means that even our choices, there are certain steps in those choices. So really, are those choices even free or not? And there's like someone, even he said that, I was like, oh, I have had this conversation with myself in the last 25 years.
Yes, that's right.
To an answer, because part of me is like everything that you said, and the other part of me is like, but can you make a choice that is so wild and off track that it does push you in another direction? So it's just always so that interesting, because my dad always says too, not making a decision is a decision.
Yes.
And so I'm like, so when you don't make the decision, is that even part? Is it like Spirit said you get 1, 2, 3, and you only get 1, 2, 3? Or what if you cook up 4? What if you cook up 5? And was it really you with the Spirit? It's just such a fascinating topic. I'll stop talking. Okay.
Well, I do want to go into this realm a little bit here too. Adrian, we'll come back to you then. Do you believe in coincidence?
Oh, yes. I have an experience of coincidence.
Okay.
And I was telling it in the Halloween story a few days ago. So what happened was I finished work, I was teaching, and it was rush hour. So I decided I wasn't going to take the subway. I thought, well, the weather is nice, even though it's November. So I chose not to take the subway, decided to take the bus instead to get home. But because it was rush hour, there were a lot of packed buses. And buses kept passing, and I was like, I'm not taking this bus or that bus. Finally, I get on a bus, and as I get on the bus driver says, "Hello, Pat Watson." I don't know the bus driver.
How do you know?
Never met the bus driver before. The bus driver has a file full of all kinds of interesting newspaper clippings, which he then hands to me.
It's a great story, isn't it?
So that's an experience of coincidence. And I'm like, that bus, that decision, that experience, it blew my mind.
See, I wouldn't call that coincidence. I would say divine synchronicity.
Yes.
Well, isn't that coincidence though?
Coincidence to me sounds like, oh, this happened out of nowhere.
Yeah,
like,
you don't.
Oh, I just ran into a person that I haven't seen in 16 years. Oh, it's a coincidence. I needed milk and they needed eggs. Go ahead, Adrian, because
I've had many a teacher, spiritual and in an academic setting, talk about this, and they're like, coincidence is when you actually do not believe. And they've all said the same thing, that when you don't believe and there's a divine synchronicity behind the event that happened, you truly, that's when you go, there's no, it was supposed to happen. It just was a fluke and it happened. And if you don't believe in coincidence, you actually believe in divine synchronicity, then you would say it was spirit. It was meant to be, which goes back into that whole, do you believe in things happening for you, whatever. So I just think that's where it gets interesting, because I don't believe in coincidence, which is weird, because then I also am a self-determined, so I'm like, I sound like a jerk and I'm being hypocritical. But I'm also like, because there are too many things that you can't make this up. It happened. It was supposed to happen that way. That's not a coincidence. That was spirit, everything coming together to conspire for you in that moment.
Mhm.
Lena, do you believe in coincidence?
Well, I think it comes back to the words, doesn't it? Generally coincidence sort of is suggesting, oh, it's an accident out of the blue, when that's not how we use it if we're alternative or on another path as a rule. But we're still fumbling in this field for the right words for so much
Right.
stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, many people call it synchronicity. Well, apart from being hard to spell, it's a real mouthful, and it doesn't quite nail it. It tries, but it doesn't quite get there. So, yeah, I do and I don't. I recognize it when I see it, but I call it something else. Yeah.
Yes, it's a word thing, because when I talked to the person when I was setting up the LLC in the initial stage, I was talking to a person who was learning tarot, and
Wow.
she works for LegalZoom, not TarotZoom. So that was a coincidence, like one of those things that just, oh, by the way, here's something in common. It doesn't shape anything though, so that's where I would take coincidence. If it does not shape anything and it's just like a little
Okay.
asterisk in life, then okay, it could be a coincidence, like me, the tarot reader, talking to a person on the phone who knows what tarot cards even are. The first person didn't, the second person was learning it and was having trouble, and I'm like, oh well, da da da. And so that was a coincidence. Maybe it was a coincidence. Maybe she, something happened in her life where she was sparked again to go learn it. But as far as I'm concerned, that was coincidence. As far as like running into people in the grocery store that you haven't seen in 16 years, I find that to be a synchronicity type thing. Because maybe there is, hey, I don't have your number, I don't have yours either. And then boom, there it starts again. And so maybe there's something that they need to bring into your life at that time, or you into theirs. And so that's kind of where I stand on the coincidence part. Now, Lena, I'm coming back to you. Fate and destiny. Or if you want
just before you go, sorry, could I just say, I get your point though, Johnny, because I feel like what you're saying is, if a thing is free, then the coincidence is random. If the will is free, then the coincidence is random. But if the will is not free, then the coincidence is pre-programmed.
planned, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good way of summing it up.
Now, the fate and destiny, this is where you will end up, period. No matter how it is you start or the decisions you make, this is your fate. This is where you end up.
Yeah.
Is kind of what, people hear destiny or fate is like, oh, I was meant to do this, or I was meant to be here, that type of thing. Can those things exist in the same space as free will?
Mm-hmm. Great.
Yeah. Here's what I think. As I'm going to put on my sociology hat now.
Right? I love it when you go Dr. Lena on this. Yes!
Thank you. No one in Australia knows what sociology is. My family doesn't know, but never mind. It's looking at societies and how society influences us from birth. right? So you have your birth family, and importantly, you have where you grow up, right? So if you grow up in a particular neighborhood, we get our values collectively in layers from our family and from our neighborhoods, and then our sub-tribes, if you like, if you're fully into sport or you're fully into the church or you're fully into something, right? All these things form the child. Now, if you get born into a really repressive environment and you're gay in an evangelical community or whatever, that you are at risk of not being able to emerge as your full self, right? Your idea of free will becomes important in a really different way. And this is a long way around saying, I think you can change your destiny by making hard decisions and talking to certain people or whatever, and changing that path. Having said that, is that your destiny?
I know.
Yes. You see what I mean?
Yeah, it's tough.
So, Pat, can they exist in the same space? Fate, destiny, and free will?
I think in as much as we have different words for them, that there are dimensions of aligning. You know, it's the salmon swimming upstream kind of thing. They're instinctively going to do it, as Dr. Lena said, that there's some personalities that will shatter their belief system and move in a whole different direction. And personality has a lot to do with that, I believe. And timing and a whole bunch of different things that go into that recipe. So, in as much as there is a larger belief system, I think the vast majority will allow the belief systems to direct them. But there will be those individuals who might be the ones to drag the rest of us forward or just take themselves, who will be that salmon swimming upstream. And that is their instinctive move. For whatever reason, whether there is some catharsis or, you know, whatever soul contract or something else. So both are true at the same time.
Okay. Adrian, can they exist in the same space?
That's a chicken and egg thing for me, because while I'm like, yes, they can. You know, like Lena was saying, you've got this child born into this circumstance, but then they choose to go the opposite direction. And like Pat was saying, they choose to do this, but then also I go, but was that part of their contract? Were they supposed to be born in this incredibly regressive, repressive family, and they were going to be the one to break the mold? That was their path. And to me, I'm like, I am a mere human and I don't have that answer.
Well done.
But the evidence is there though, right? So all we have to go on is experience. And so if we observe that there are some individuals who will do that, then that is the fact of it. I think the experience speaks for itself.
I say they do not exist in the same space. Fate, destiny, and free will, I think it's one or the other. Either you believe you're going to shape your own life or your life has been predetermined. And you get to make some decisions within it.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, your decisions, as I still said from the beginning, your decisions are limited. You are leashed in where you can go. If you are 4'9", 610 pounds, you're probably not going to be star of the Royal Ballet type of thing. Even though you want to be a ballet dancer, you still can be. You just have to do it in your own way. But you're not probably going to be with them doing the pirouettes and carrying on. For me, I do not believe that I got to choose to be a tarot reader. I think life is a stew. And when you said recipe, it made me laugh. It's a stew. You put in my family who had fish dreams. And I was wondering, what is the fish dream? Southern women, when they had, well, it probably could be anybody, but I knew from the South because that's where I'm from. Southern women, when they had a dream about fish, that means somebody was pregnant. And so I'm like, okay, that's the fish dream. So this is people get visions and craps and stuff in their head. And oh, we come from Louisiana, and then this, you got your hoodoo and voodoo, and then you put all that in the pot. And so now I'm not scared of it. And then you put in, all the little home remedies, all the little oils and tricks of the trade that they would come up with. You put that in there, and then there's your stew full of, I'm not afraid of witchcraft, and I'm not afraid of, dreams, images in my dreams. And so then you put in, we're not really religious, but we believe in God. So you throw the God in there. So the God concept is not foreign to me. And then you look on TV and there's Miss Cleo playing with these cards, and that looks so fascinating. And you throw that in there. It's like, I want those. I want those. I knew I want those, but now I see it and it's in my face. I know it's a thing that I can go and get. And so you stir all that up, and then that's my life. My life is determined by this recipe. If you would have put in, if I was 6'7" and I knew how to dribble a ball, maybe I wouldn't be a tarot reader. Maybe I would be a basketball player. But I don't. I tried to dribble a basketball before and run with it at the same time. That doesn't work. I would throw the ball down and kick it, and then it'd fly that way, and now I'm chasing the ball. So I look real smart. So that was not my thing. My thing was teaching to people, because then I like to talk. You throw that in there. And then people like you. You throw that in there. And so this arena kind of found me, or it was already supposed to be a thing. And so that's why I don't think I had a choice in that. Because I did try to fight being a tarot reader, actually. Because I didn't want to do it for other people, and then it become like a job, and then I started to hate it, and all this, and then I had to be on the hook for being right. And then, if I do political, who cares? Donald Trump's fate. I don't care. I can be wrong as I want to be. Whoop-de-doo. But when somebody paid you money to give me insight, I need you to be at least a little accurate. So now I have to take it more seriously. And then it was a whole thing, and I'm like, okay. This was in my lap, and it's something I'm supposed to do. And then you get comment after comment of, oh my God, you helped me so much. And oh, this helped this. And oh, I can't believe I was having such a hard time. And then you ease this kind of fear and that kind of fear. And then you think, was this what I was supposed to do? And if it was, who determined that? So I think fate and destiny are pretty much what I work with. And then I have to just basically walk this line and make certain decisions along the way, but not the important tit poles. Those are kind of.
I think it brings up a point about the free part, because I gave it some thought, that free has two values. One is adjective and one is verb. So free will, the adjective, is I'm going to do whatever I want, regardless of the outcome or the consequences. But free will, which is in a sense what you decided to do, which is to give in to the inexorable pull towards a certain thing that was laid out for you, right? So it's like the story of Noah and the whale. Like, if you run away, it's not going to go well. So I'm free to go with the flow or not.
And I think another thing is flexibility within it. So remember that movie Sliding Doors? I never actually saw it, but I got the idea from the title that, you have probably hundreds, if not thousands of things that happen where you could move into that house, or you could go on that date with that person, or you could do, that change everything. How much wriggle room do we have? And is that spirit saying, look, this is your contract, but you can do this wriggling, or we know what you're going to do?
We used to have that when I was in the church. We would preach that you can fight God's will, but you will have a hard time doing it. Because whatever it is that you're meant to be doing, or that God wants you to do, you're going to always be pulled back to it. So you can try to run away from that leash, but it's always going to pull you back into it. So I can try not to be a tarot reader, but every time I see one, I want to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense too.
So this is the paradox.
Isn't it?
Now, okay, Pat, we'll start with you on this one.
Mhm.
What plays a major decision or plays a major role in your decision making?
Um, Again, I did give it some thought, and I had to take a minute. One, ability. Two, opportunity, and not necessarily in this all in the same order. Three, desire, and four is means. Those are the things.
Mhm.
Adrian, what plays a major part in your decision making?
See, I interpreted this question very differently.
Well, you have free will to do so, madam.
For me personally, it is answering the way Pat did. I am a thoughts-based person, point blank and period. So, which means I am analytical, give me facts, figures, numbers, data, which is very funny being a person who is, spiritual. That's complete difference. But then also with my behavioral analytics, knowing I'm a thoughts-based person, my second runner up was emotions. And that's where where the belief systems come in. So if I don't have the facts, numbers, figures, then I'll go, how does that feel? In those two. But I interpreted that question, how do people, what spirit things makes this factor in how people make their decisions. And that's how I read it. And I was just going to say their belief system. Do they believe in a higher power, then they'll pray, get that answer? Or is it they are I had a completely different answer. I'm going to shut up and pass it to Lena.
Lena, what makes a big impact in your decision making?
Well, I think as I get older, the main question comes, have I got the energy to do this? It never used to factor in, but you know what? Now it's the guiding light. But I agree, perhaps to be a well-rounded person, like Adrian was suggesting, ideally we factor in all those things. We might do it. Some people have quick thinking processes, boom, boom, boom. And the problem with that is you can be impulsive and, sometimes regret those decisions or whatever. Mm-hmm. Others are very methodical. But I think if you're blessed with the soul energy to really just tap in, whatever that means for you, what is good for my soul, does it impact well or badly on anyone else? I think should always be a criteria. And if you're blessed with a brain that can crunch numbers and take in information, a rational input to it, because most people make most decisions on impulse.
That's always so fascinating when people are like, I'm very impulsive. I'm like, it takes me 8 days to decide something very basic. Like that's sometimes I need to be more impulsive.
Yeah.
And I'm with Adrian.
Like a house or something, people go, I like it or I hate it. Then we're not, as a species, that good at bringing all our powers to the table.
Just like that. Yes. I am a person who makes their decisions, unfortunately, sometimes based upon impulse and the moment.
Yeah.
Every reading I've ever done for myself, when it comes to embarking upon another thing, always, without fail, get the Two of Pentacles. It is telling you you are now about to introduce something into your situation that you need to maintain balance in doing. Because as I seen with my story, I get frustrated with certain things very quickly. Because as a Gemini, I want it to work right now because I want to go on to the next thing because ADD. So it's like I need to go on to the next thing. I need this to work the way it's supposed to the first time. Mm-hmm. I have all the patience in the world for people, don't have nothing whatsoever when it comes to patience for things. And so I always dive into things without the pros and cons list and then get frustrated afterwards, which is what the Two of Pentacles always comes up. It's saying, you know yourself. You're going to have all this chaos around you and then you're going to drop stuff and then just forget about it. And so make sure you're maintaining that balance. So a lot of my decisions are made on impulse. When I do the reading, however, those times before, then I do it based on the reading. I do it based upon, okay, I trust what this says. And not only do I trust what this says, but this rings true because of the past. And so then I can put the two together and say, okay, you know what? Maybe this is not a thing for you because you know how this is going to end up. I was going to do a third tarot channel, and I did the reading. It said you'll lose focus or you'll lose interest very quickly. Do it. So you know what? It will because I've done it already. So I let it go. And that's what my decisions are usually based on. Okay, so let me go here. We'll start with you, Lena. Would you give up free will if you had the choice to do so? That way something else can basically mark your steps for you.
Probably not, in the sense I'm fire sign sort of. I want to be there in my life. You know what I mean? I want to slam some of those sliding doors shut or open. So it might be an illusion of free will or whatever, but on a day-to-day basis, you know, with the smaller things that don't alter your life course.
That is a key.
I like having being in the driver's seat, I guess. I'm not a good backseat driver, put it that way. I work very hard at letting spirit have a bigger part of my decision making and pathway. I intrinsically had a huge head start, you know, with, you know, my family and stuff, but nonetheless, I had to work at it, not the other way around. Whereas I'm sure for other people, the emphasis is the other way around, you know. And would love to just surrender and
just let go.
Scary to me.
I like what you said, the illusion of free will. I think that is...
It's very strong, isn't it?
Yes.
I mean, that's kind of what... Well, anyway. Adrian, would you give it up if you could?
As much as I say that I overanalyze every decision and I sit back on it and I'm a thoughts-based person, I need the facts, figures, numbers, I like the illusion of free will. I'm sorry. The moment, because that's actually what irritates me in life, is when I feel not necessarily spirit, because I know it's working for me, but when other humans or other things take away my choices, that irritates me.
Yeah.
So knowing that, even though I trust spirit, it would start. I couldn't have any. Like, nah, man. I'm sorry. I would self-sabotage so fast. No,
we're mortals. Let's face it. We're still doing
very.
So but there's a willingness to give over to that larger something. But certainly, exactly what Adrian said. If it feels like another human being is taking away my freedom, at any point, I just get different. Let's put it that way.
Because my 3 rules on this channel have always been: respect my chat and the people in it. Please don't fight and all that carrying on. This ain't what we do over here. We're supposed to be grown. Number 2, don't tell me what to do.
Right.
I think you should have more lighting over there on the left.
I mean, that's
just the white table again.
I don't know why it unsettles me. Like if I submit to your authority, as if I went to a job and you're my boss, I respect the chain of command. Therefore, you get to tell me what to do respectfully, because I'm still grown now. But you get to tell me what to do. I will submit to that request. But random people in the world, don't tell me what to do.
No.
Like, it's like an automatic thing. It's like pop the balloon or hit the balloon with the pin, it pops. It's automatic. Don't tell me what to do, because for whatever reason, I automatically get an attitude.
Well, to quote RuPaul, and in fact RuPaul's mother, if they don't pay your bills, they don't get to tell you what to do.
And even if you pay my bills,
it's like you can't breathe.
No.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, Pat, you would not give up your free will for, say a higher power making your decisions.
Well, yeah, higher power I trust.
Mm-hmm.
It's like whatever you want, God, because my whole experience has been that anyway. It's like I could try anything, but it still comes back to, okay, God, whatever you want. Well, I mean, we say God for want of a better word, but whatever you want is fine by me because you know the whole picture. But yeah, not for another human being. Otherwise, I would have been still married. No, I'm not doing that.
That's right. And sharing that remote. No.
I feel like if I could give it up, all decisions, all choices, I couldn't even, because to me, a person needs, as you said before, Lena, well-rounded. And I get the image of the grinding stone. Like it'll grind something down, but it'll make it smooth. It'll hone it over time. And so that's kind of what people need. They need some ups and downs and some scrapes and scratches. And that's your story. This is what you shouldn't do, and this is why you shouldn't do it. They need that too. And they need some good times and some wonderful times to harken back on in the times of the storm and the trouble, to say, you know what, I've been through something at least like this before, and maybe it'll get better. So I think we need all of that, and we need also the decisions that come with it, if you believe in that type of thing. Now, here's another question, though.
Oh, God.
Is prayer a contradiction to free will? Because
sorry, I talked over that. What was the question?
Is prayer a contradiction to free will? Because you are now beseeching something to come and help you. I want you to intervene in something I can't do, or something I feel I can't do, whether it's just regulating my emotions or fixing my life in Yanma. I need you to help me do something. Do you think that is a battle? Adrian, I'll start with you then.
Because if you don't believe in free will, if you don't believe in free will, then it means everything's predetermined, which means it's predetermined by something. So we'll go ahead and take the shortcut and say God. So when you're praying, I'm assuming you're talking to whatever you think created you. Therefore, you're asking that to help you on that path that is already predetermined. So no, I actually don't think so. I think you're just calling in for reinforcements and making sure that you're still on that path. It all depends on what you pray for, though. Because if you're like, I pray that this mother sucker over there stubs their leg toe and get gangrene.
Yeah.
That's interference.
Then now you're proceeding on free will. So no, I don't think so.
Pat, do you believe prayer is a contradiction, wanting something to intervene on your behalf?
I have an idea of prayer, which is before you pray, the prayer is already answered. It's like it's already there waiting. So again, paradoxically, the answer comes before the prayer.
That's really true. I hadn't
So,
thought
Lena,
about
do
it.
you believe that the prayer is a contradiction to your free will?
I think not a contradiction, no. You could say that choosing to do a prayer is exercising your free will to ally yourself with a higher power. We're really tap dancing now, aren't we, in philosophy? But you know what I mean? Like, I think my feel is they go together, but they're not train tracks. They're not divorced from each other, right? Again, using both to the best of your ability and with a good heart is where strength lies and where wisdom lies. So no, I wouldn't see it as a contradiction. No.
So prayer is about intention.
I think that even in my realm of, I've given up on the concept of free will. Let's say, for instance, I totally believe in total free will. I don't believe it to be a contradiction because I believe it's a part of your tapestry. Yeah. It's not. It's almost like, okay, I'm thirsty. Is it a contradiction of my free will to turn the tap on? So it's something you need to quench your thirst. Therefore, you act appropriately. So if there's something in your life you can't work out, you already have, just like we always tell people about your guides and your all this type of stuff, they're already with you. So it's not like you have to go find a god or have to go locate one or order one from DoorDash or something like that. It's already there. So you're just basically operating that part of your life. It's already a part of it. It's intrinsic. It's there already. And so I don't think it's a contradiction. I think it's just using another tool that you have at your disposal. Okay.
The other thing is, because I'm into words, I think about this concept of pray to. And in my meditation, I got this insight: pray into.
It's beautiful. It's heavy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, it's really an interesting distinction, isn't it? You know, as opposed to setting something up out there that's external and high,
Yeah.
and all this praying into.
Activate the
I love
words.
that.
Yeah, it shifted my perception when that
Yes.
came through.
I can see why.
That's heavy.
Okay. So do you believe in soul contracts? And if so, how does that work or factor into your free will? Lena, let's start with you. Do you believe in soul contracts?
Yes, I do. I mean, again, I don't like the contract word. Has other associations, but I haven't come up with anything better, and who would know if I did, right? So we here, including everyone watching this, knows what we're talking about, I think, with soul contract. So it's some sort of understanding with the universe that we seem to adapt as we move into our mortal lives, right? So yes, I do, is the short answer. But we could talk for 6 hours about the fine print, but I'll leave it at that for this question for now.
Because I'm like, what is, was there some clauses in the bottom that I didn't quite read when
That's right. No, that's what I mean by the
what's the return policy? Like, yeah.
So, Pat, do you believe in soul contracts?
My experience is that there is an inexorable pull along a particular path. So that is my experience. And I don't know about the term soul contract, but I think my experience is the best answer for that, because there are days when I'm in my meditation and I understand that the situation I'm in, the pattern of life I've lived, serves a purpose that is beyond just me. And there is a deep sense of accomplishment in that. Like, yeah, I did what I'm here to do, even if I'm not 360 clear on what that is. Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to call it a soul contract, though. I'm a word person. I don't know what it is, but there's something about that terminology that just feels like I don't know what that is.
Adrian, do you believe in a soul contract? And does it factor into your...
Read this book 3 times and studied with her personally on this. I would have to say yes, I do. No, I something that both Pat and Lena said I think is very interesting, because I've struggled off and on with the term. She calls it, Carolyn calls it sacred contracts, soul contracts, whatever. I do, because maybe at this stage in my life, I've used it to make sense of things that I could never make sense of. While I say born in this space, this place, this time with these people. And the only answer I can get was, this is what I agreed to before I came down. Why do I have spirit guides? Because that's what they agreed to. So it makes sense in a way. I'm with Lena. I have yet to find another terminology, because contracts does have a very specific notion behind it that makes it feel, because I also think that you can break the contract. And she talks about in the book, you can do whatever you want to go against that contract. You're just going to have some real schniggity. And so at that point, your contract's null and void, and contract just has such a weird, strict terminology. Do we call it, you signed your life I was just a contract, I mean, say contract, your life agreement or your divine, whatever that term is. But yeah, I believe in it. I'm gonna pull Alina. Long answer, short answer, yes.
Yeah.
I do believe in it because I believe that's what's happening to me. Because I feel like I said with the stew and the recipe, this is my life's recipe, my soul's recipe. This is the things it wanted on its grocery list. And so I feel I'm just living that out, which is where I just dismiss eventually the notion of all this is free will. This is my decision. This was something else put into place, and I'm living it out. That's how I feel.
The illusion of
I
free
get
will.
to do some things in it, like I always tell people about fate and destiny when they get sort of worried about it. I say, okay, this thing here is sitting on your table. According to my psychic hits and reads and my 8-ball and crystal ball, you're going to knock this over in 2 minutes. So let's take this. We'll take it completely out of the room, set it on a table downstairs, and then come back. 2 minutes later, you change your fate and your destiny. Now you can't knock it over because it's not even in the situation anymore. So I never believed things were set in stone, typically, but I figured that there's also a pattern to things that you can't deviate from. In this whole notion of me being a tarot reader, like I said, I can fight it, but it pulls me back. Because let's say I got rid of my YouTube channel and all of my cards the moment I turned on YouTube and saw Lena or saw Adrian or saw Jen or saw whoever.
Your little heart would be going.
I want to do that again, and then I'm on eBay trying to buy all my cards. So I believe, yes, there is an agreement, and I'm just living it out.
I just want to throw something out there in the sense of, I think without thinking very hard, we can think of a lot of people in our lives who are perhaps ignoring their soul contract as we would see it from the outside with ego talking, their contract is their contract. But, someone who's very talented at piano but couldn't be bothered following it up or whatever. And I think more so there's many people who perhaps misread or misunderstand their contract because there's such a strong veil of what is religious and what is God that's between them and their creator, right? And I'll just share a quick story. I think it's a joke, actually, that Al Gore used to tell about climate change, but it stuck with me. So there's a guy in a house, rising floodwaters, and people come by in a car and say, quick, Jeff, jump in. We're going, no, it's all right. I'm praying to God. I will be fine. The floodwaters come up onto the porch and people come by in a dinghy and say, Jeff, get in. It's going up. I'm praying to God. It'll be all right. It's up to the roof. He's clinging to the roof. A helicopter comes past, drops the ladder. Jeff, grab it. No, I'm praying to God. Anyway, as the water's coming up, he's saying, God, why did you forsake me? And God says, what do you mean? I sent you a car and a boat and a helicopter. And I think it's an important story. I think people are maximizing their opportunities in so many ways because they can't let go of a particularly rigid way of seeing things.
Yes, very true.
Very true.
Very true. So, okay, let me run through announcements one more again. I seen somebody join the Patreon, so this reminded me. I'm going to do a tarot class January the 7th is the first class. I will have more information as we get closer to it. If you just want recorded videos, they're already on Patreon. You can find it on my YouTube channel. There's a link somewhere. If you just want the recorded videos, those are cheaper than the class, and it's the same information, it's just not live. So you can go and get it there. And like I said, it's cheaper than the class. Sign up as close to the beginning of the month as you can because Patreon deducts $25 from you the moment you sign up, and again on the first of every month until you cancel. So if you sign up on December 31st, it's going to charge you $25. And if you sign up on or sign up on December 21st. That's $25. January 1st, it's another. So you got $50 in 2 days. So sign up as close to the beginning of the month as you can. Now would be a good time if that's something you want to do. Also, tomorrow I will be live with Joyce at 3 o'clock on her channel, 3 p.m. Eastern. And then that same day, 7 p.m. Eastern, we will be on Adrian's channel doing our Zodiac reads and being on our best behavior with Shining Hawk Healing, the instigator in chief. And I have put a link to Pat's channel in the thing that y'all are typing in right there.
Thank you, John.
And if you're not subscribed to Lena Rodriguez, I don't really know what's going on in there.
Yeah, really.
That's
At this point, I mean,
where have you
so,
been?
and then also Thursday the 9th at 7 p.m. Adrian will be live with us again on her channel doing political personalities, where we will dive into why they
it's
are
such a great idea. Are you
Yeah.
going to do a few of them, Adrian?
You know, here's the thing. I come up with my ideas in the bathroom.
Yeah.
So I had the idea, and I was like, I don't think anybody would watch it. Would they? And I texted Jen Lynn, and she's like, yeah, what time is it? I'll be there. I was like, okay. And that's the most thought I've put into it. So maybe we should.
Okay.
Yeah.
This cast of
Everybody
characters
got
we
to
live
tune
with.
in so we get more.
Yes, I definitely would like that. And the next one of our soul chats that we are going to do will be on YouTube and Fame, actually. And so we will be diving into the egotistical part of ourselves.
The ego.
So my last question for us here tonight, and Pat, we'll start with you. Have you ever experienced a time in your life where you felt as though you were out of control and something else was acting on your behalf?
Oh my goodness. What a beautiful question. Frequently. I'll tell you a lovely story. I was on my way one cold gray morning, because this is Toronto, to meet with a student, and it was winter and the weather was not nice, and I was not feeling very happy to be going out. And I was in a streetcar, and somewhere along the way, a voice came through that said, "Don't change anything, because then we won't know where to find you. Just stay just as you are." And then a feeling of the most transcendent, loving acceptance I've ever known in my life. I felt so cute. I almost pinched my own cheeks. And it changed me forever, because I knew something I had not known before. And all I could do after that was to try and share that experience with other people. And every once in a while, I realize that all I can do is share my experience and hope that every individual has their own experience of it. And so I hope I'm answering the question, which is that thing that is there for all of us, which so many of us hunger for, but some of us are so blessed to have the real experience of it. It's the whole of everything in this paradigm. I mean, I don't know what's beyond our universe, but in our universe, that is all that we're all reaching for.
Okay, I like that answer. Lena, have you ever felt as though something else was in control of you at that time?
Yeah, I was 14, and I used to go to a roller skating rink in the redneck country town I was in, right? And we're talking rough. It was like the Blues Brothers. There was chicken wire, and people would throw beer cans at it, right? And so I was under very strict instructions from my mother. You will only come home with this couple, right? Don't mess me around on this. Only those two, right? And so every Saturday, or whenever it was, I would go home with them. This particular night, I got in the car and I was physically lifted out of the vehicle and plonked back on my feet outside. And I'm doing, I kept trying to get back in the car because my mum was scary, right? But I thought, this is something. So I said to them, I'm sorry. I just can't. I'll get a lift with so-and-so. Anyway, so I got a lift home with someone else, and my mother's light was on. She was pacing. I thought, oh, here we go. But she didn't. She came out and hugged me, which was probably the second time she'd hugged me in my life. And she said, thank God you're safe. Not what I was expecting, right? I'm going, yeah. And she said, no, I saw a car accident. I said, no, it's all right, it's all right. She said, no, I saw this accident. And she felt so strongly, she rang the local police, said, tell me where the car accident was. She was so like that, right? And that car had been in a very bad accident. And where I had been sitting was carved out. We went to see it at the Wreckers 2 days later. It was not there. That part of the car was not there.
Wow.
But it was physical. That's the point I'm making. It wasn't, oh, maybe a little impression. It was like,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow.
Adrian.
Ooh, more times I care to share. But one that sticks out is I've made a lot of piss poor decisions in my life. And I'm one in particular landed me in the critical care unit. And I have 1,800 doctors. Okay, it wasn't 1,800. It was literally 8 though, standing over me, and my blood pressure's dropping, and they're like, "You're dying. I'm sorry. There's stuff I don't know what to tell you. You're gonna die. When you close your eyes, you're gonna die." And looking at, I remember the last thing I did was looking at my parents, and I was like, "Oh well, this is it." And I remember that moment going, "I really wish I could live. That really sucks." And actually feeling my chest. Come to find out later, I probably coded and they were giving me CPR, but opening my eyes and being alive and going, whoo, I'm not supposed to be here. And the doctors look at me like, and I remember the last doctor I talked to, he said, I've never seen anybody with what you went through still live through it. You are supposed to be here, make every moment of this life count. And ever since then, my life is for others.
Wow.
I have, every day pretty much, especially when I read, sometimes I get this, I don't know how to even describe it. It's like somebody completely different just sat in, like you were sitting here and then they sat where you are and just embodied you, and they're doing the talking. It's like, 'cause I'll read and I'll have cards in my hand, but I'm talking and I'm doing the reading and I'm not laying nothing out. And it's like, but all the information is just spewing out, and like my head is tilted, and I always get this thing. I say, the cards look blank, which means either I need to focus or I'm not getting the answer. And so it's like I stare at them and they just look like ink on a paper. I get no answer. Like, I know what the Two of Swords mean. I don't really need a guide for that. I know the definition, but I can't get nothing. Like, it just looks like ink blotches. And then there are times when I look down and I can't see nothing, but I'm still talking. And so it feels like something else is there. I can't really
Do you think that's actually channeling? You know, I know you don't think of yourself as a channeler. It sounds to me like that's channeling. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Else is just coming through, and I'm the vessel, because you can't hear that thing, but you can hear me. And so it's just
absolutely.
And so that happens every day, pretty much. But I've had certain instances in life that I can definitely point to where I am needed to pass a message to somebody else, but I have to do something in order to do it. And so it's not something I would do in my character, but it's something that needs to be done.
That's a really good point.
To sort of shake a person up or to make a person see a situation differently. The very first time I was a kid, and my father at the point, he was drinking and staying out and street running and all that type of stuff. And then I'd come home, and then like all my electronics are gone because he pawned them so he can get money or whatever. And so I wrote a note, and I could see myself or whatever. That was, I don't, anyway. I wrote a note saying I hate him or something of that nature, and folded it up, not balled it up and threw it away, folded it up and left it sitting in the middle of the living room. And so he found it. And then like he's in tears upside down.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, I'm sitting there, and my mother said, go talk to your father. And I'm thinking, what for? I mean, not that I hate him or nothing. I just, why are we having a conversation at 7 o'clock in the middle of, you know? And she said he found your note and this and this. And I'm thinking, I wrote him no note. But yes, I did. And there it was, my handwriting, the whole bit. It's like something needed to happen on his side and for his benefit. But this was the thing that made him sort of, it shook him up completely. And so it needed to happen that way. And there was a certain amount of believability in it. Like, so it wasn't like it was coming from nowhere. So it's one of those things where he now got to see his actions. He now got to see what he was doing and how he was affecting other people, not just me. And so that was one of them awakening moments for him. And so I've had situations throughout my life where I needed to do one thing so that somebody else kind of got the picture. And there was a little nudging in that direction from whatever outside source. That's what I say. So I did a poll. And does free will exist? 82% said yes. 13% said maybe, sometimes. 40% says no. 190 votes.
So apparently the four of us on this chat are the only four. Well, I bet you that's the four of us who said no.
It's just one of them. It's a gray area type of thing. And as everyone here has said too, this is kind of a wording issue too. You know, it's kind of like toxic people from last week. You may not be toxic all the time, but you have done some messed up shiitake mushroom in your life. So, you know, it's one of them things to where free will, maybe it exists, maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's something that exists but is different than our perception type of thing. Kind of, okay, let me tell one more story. I was trying to leave. I'm sorry. One more story.
Here we go.
I did a reading because this is where my mind goes when I sit and think. I'm like, what is God? Not he's love and blah, blah, blah. No, what? Like if I was to walk up on you, what would you look like? Would you look like an anteater or would you look like a person? What are you? Are you made of molecules? Are you made of stardust and all this? So I got God is light. And I'm like, okay. I mean, and I did the reading. It was on the YouTube live stream. And I'm like, okay, he's God is light. That makes sense because we are light and we're actually light molecules even. So, okay, makes sense. That's too simple for me because I still want something more extravagant than that. But I get it. And so I was walking home one day and I'm looking at the sun. And I get this little voice said, God is light, but that's incomplete. And I'm like, don't do this to me right now. It's not as simple as that. Yeah. And so it's just one of them things to where it's a wording issue. Yeah. You want to know what when it surpasses the what. When it's really the realm of it is just more complicated, and it would really take you hours to explain, and it would take you possibly words to explain that you don't yet have.
Right.
And so it's sometimes some things in life are just a feeling and not a verbal thing that you can pass on to somebody else. And so God is more complicated than that, and so is free will. But we gave it a good shot, and I had a fantastic.
We gave it a shot.
Could I just quickly tell you? The answer I got very quickly is everything and everyone is an experience and an expression of God. That was the one answer, and the other answer I got is all is.
Because that's, and anyway, don't, because that's a whole 14-hour conversation. I'm telling you. Anyway, so here we go.
Thank you so much, Johnny.
Thank you all. Thank you, Adrian. Thank you, Pat. Thank you, Lena, for joining me on this. Was fun.
Do you remember when your horoscope was done a year ago, and it was that you would be moving on a new path? And do you remember that we celebrated your birthday, and Jenlyn read your cards for you, and it was this thing of you would be on this new way. This is it.
I'm glad you remember that.
Yeah.
Good memory.
Move over, Oprah. I think Johnny should move over.
That makes sense because
Yeah.
change people should too. So
Oh.
yeah. So thank y'all for joining us.
Thank you so
here,
much.
All 207
Thank you,
of y'all
guys.
here.
I appreciate your company, Adrian and Lena.
Same.
Johnny, thank you so much.
Thank
All
you.
the people in the chat.
And I will put Pat's channel one more time.
Oh, thank you.
There.
I'm
And
subscribed to her channel for a hot New York minute. And it takes a lot because I'm subscribed for both Red Lentil and my personal. So there's no excuse for you guys not to be subscribed. Okay.
so I will see y'all tomorrow on Adrian's channel at 7 p.m. Y'all come and join and have a good time with us.
Yeah.
And bye-bye.
Ciao.